Xerxes, thanks for doing this interview. I think it offers a platform for everybody who's going to vote for you to understand a few, where you stand and what you would do if you were elected. But before that, congratulations on the Navar of your son.
Oh,
And
thanks. Thanks.
so let's talk a little bit about that. Why is it important that you actually got your son to do his Navar? Was it his choice? Was it your choice? Was it a combination?
No, I mean, and we've been inculcating in him that this has to be done from the beginning. And of course, he was nervous and anxious about whether he could do it, not, especially staying alone for so many days. But he also understood that this is something which needs to be done. And once the parents are firm and we are clear that this is a tradition we have to carry forward, and it opens a new world and vista to him. And I think he's much smarter now. He's more confident. Lots of issues with food, creature comforts, all that has been resolved. I think he's come out a much smarter young man, and I think it is something we have to do because if I'm an hour, my father's an hour, and for our entire generation, all of us have been Nawars one after the other. So definitely, I would have not wanted any issue where he was not an hour, because it must be passed on from generation to generation.
Interesting. So on that same topic, there is currently there are initiatives to empower priests and mobbeds, and there's obviously been a decline both in numbers and in facilities that mobbeds get. If you get elected as a BPP trustee, you would be the only one of seven who's an actual priest also, right?
Yes,
So
correct.
is that a big is that do you see that as a big responsibility now?
No, I do because I think it's important that the BPP, which is, let's say, the administrative or the political body which runs the Parsi community, should also coordinate more closely with the religious aspect of our community. BPP, I've always maintained, is not a religious body, but it's the entity which looks after quite a few religious bodies. So it's important that the BPP work with our religious leaders to find common solutions, common platforms, send out the right message. You know, Case in point being this metro and what's happening just now. I really feel that the BPP, being the premier body in Bombay, should have at least taken the lead to coordinate with the trustees of the respective Atas Bairams or the priests and come out with a common message outside the community and inside the community. This kind of different messaging is becoming an issue and will definitely be held against us by outsiders, that within our community itself there are people who are for it, there are people against it. I don't know, I mean, I'm not a religious expert, but I really think that this issue should have been debated, and BPP could have just played a facilitator or provided the platform for all the community religious leaders or elders to come together and reach a consensus on this issue.
Okay. So that brings us to the point as to why did you decide to run for? You ran 4 years ago,
Yeah.
and
2.5 years ago.
2.5 years ago, and now you're running again. I mean,
Yeah.
what's are the reasons for doing that the same as they were two and a
No.
half years ago, or
So
in
the-
general?
No, the reasons are basically the same. I've realized that the community as a whole have now got a new philosophy. It's called Chalwa Day. Everything is Chalwa Day. Nobody wants to take interest. Everybody feels that, okay, this is it and we can't do anything. I mean, I'm very often asked as to why were you stupid enough to stand? you've got everything going for you. Why are you standing? And I tell everybody that if all of us do this, then who's going to look after the we are all proud to be Zoroastrian and Parsis in Bombay especially, and we all enjoy the goodwill our forefathers have created in Bombay for us. But with that privilege, there also comes a responsibility which we have to properly administer our assets, ensure that this goodwill which our forefathers have earned is not extinguished in a couple of generations, but we pass on this legacy to the next generation as well. And that's why some professionals should come in. And anyway, I think everybody's had a chance, and younger people should come. And a entity like the BPP should definitely have people with different views, different opinions, different professionals, and that's what makes an organization great. You can't have everybody who's like-minded, or you can't have relatives in the BPP. It has to be an independent body. You have to have people who have different ideas, different thinking, and who can take the BPP into the next century.
Fair. So that's a reason, those are some of the reasons that you're running.
Yes.
If you had to put it in a few points, what do you think ails the BPP just now? And we'll come to how you would provide solutions, but what do you think it ails?
I think there is a drastic disconnect between the BPP and the community it's trying to hold and work with, and there is no consensus being built within the BPP as well as between the BPP and the community. I think the BPP needs to play a role of a leader, but taking into account the community and carrying the community with it. And to that effect, I think more public meetings, more public participation, having more committees of elders. Like we used to have a housing committee of elders who used to advise. We should have a legal committee. We should involve many more people in the community. Why should these 7 individuals of the community only make these decisions? I think, and because only these 7 individuals are making the decisions, there is a serious disconnect with the rest of the community, and we're not able to build consensus. If you involve people, you build consensus, you drive consensus, the community together prospers, and that the BPP should do, especially on entrepreneurship, especially on business. The BPP plays no role. The BPP seems to have got mired into housing and other matters only. Housing is just one of the components where the Bombay Parsi Panchayat can play a leadership role. I think the BPP, with its resources, with its rich heritage, its financial resources, both its administrative resources, can be a game changer for any Parsi entrepreneur, getting people connected, using its resources to ensure that we work within ourselves, grow the community as a whole, and together the whole community will go ahead. And I think that is where I would like to contribute more. Of course, I'm qualified as a chartered accountant, and I would be able to advise them on various other matters like I'm doing for other trusts. But I think in building this gap and bridging this gap and building a consensus between the community and the BPP within the trustees itself, and together looking at the overall long-term picture. I mean, we don't have any budgets. I don't see any projections. I don't have any plans coming out. Why aren't these in the public forum? Why can't we have a public plan? What is our vision? What is the BPP's vision for 2050? What are we looking? I mean, where is the vision coming out? Why aren't we training a next generation of people? Already below us, there should be another generation of people ready to take over moment we have. As it is, I feel the 7-year term may be a little too much. I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years I think should be ideal, and newer people should keep coming on the board, and definitely there should be no relatives on the board.
So what do you think stops people from taking a leadership role within the community, especially the younger people, right? The professionals, people who are currently working.
I think it's a catch-22 situation. At one end, I can say that in WZCC itself, where I've worked a long time, a lot of people say that the youngsters are not coming forward, youngsters ka interest nati lewa mangta, etc. But I think it's both. The seniors also have to be willing to let go and bring and draw the youngsters in. And according to me, the legacy we leave behind is only the people who can take our place. I think that should be the legacy we should have, and youngsters should be trained to take over maybe 15 years from now, 20 years from now in the BPP. And the BPP can function, but trustees should also function in silo. It means we shouldn't go and reinvent the wheel on everything. We used to have the merit rating system. Now all of a sudden I'm given to understand we're not following the merit rating system. We used to have housing committees. We don't have housing committees now. We used to have a legal committee of legal advisors, etc. Now we don't have a legal committee. So what worked for us for so many generations, why is it not working? What has caused such a situation where prominent Parsis don't want to have anything to do with the BPP? And today, being a BPP trustee, instead of being looked upon as something to be proud of, people are actually asking me as to why do you really want to stand? So we have to restore this balance. I'm sure the BPP is doing a lot of good work, but all that lot of good work is being drowned by some other issues which keep coming up. So let's manage this properly. Let's bridge all these factions, whatever factions there are, whatever lines of thought there are. As a community, we have to come together, and no one outside is going to help us. This has to happen from within. And to that effect, I think it's very important that community seniors, like people who have been maybe ex BPP trustees or who are in good positions, should now find some time to talk to the trusts, help the BPP earn back that respect, get back that pride, the glory, the status, and be an organization to be proud of. We need, according to me, I think the trustees should not play an executive role. Trustees should only lay down policy, and we should have strong CFOs, CEOs, COOs, etc., who lay down the systems. I've been associated with the BPP in some way or the other for the past 20 odd years, and that administrative backbone, I think, needs to be rebuilt again.
Okay.
And sorry, that went on a little longer than.
Okay, so then coming to the next point is, forget about the BPP. What do you think ails our community just now, just in general?
Frankly, I don't think there is. I think too much negativity has been put into our community, and we keep thinking that there are a lot of things which are ailing the community. I don't think that's true. I think we, like all other communities, have some challenges, but we have lots of successes also. And I think it's incorrect. Everybody keeps saying ails. Yes, there are problems. There are problems which lots of communities have faced. Okay, we have issues, but there is nothing an enlightened, forward-thinking community like ours cannot resolve. All right, and I think our youngsters are doing exceedingly well. It's just that the ones who do very well, we're not able to get them re-involved in the community so that they in turn can become role models for youngsters, etc. And I think our community, especially in Bombay, to a certain extent, has become too cosmopolitan for our own good. So Parsis in good positions don't want to help other Parsis because they feel kharab lagse, em che, tem che. But if we don't help our own, who's going to help our own? Okay, so little help. All other things being equal, I think we should help our community. We should create an environment which helps foster entrepreneurship within the community. Our kids should not be afraid to fail. Especially Parsi parents have to change their attitude. And we see that Parsi parents in, let's say, Gujarat or Bangalore or other places have a different attitude. It's only Bombay where I think that the Parsis have become a little scared to take risks. Our children are not encouraged to take any entrepreneurial steps. They're not encouraged to take any risks. Everybody is worried. But I don't see that in Gujarat, Pune especially, even Bangalore. There are so many Parsis who are going out and succeeding. And I'm not saying that Parsis should only do business within Parsis. I'm saying Parsis should not only talk about doing business within Parsis. We should go out and excel and do business with everybody. But at the same time, try and do a certain amount of business within the community so that we can help others within the community. I mean, I don't think any Parsi wants charity from another, but all things being equal, if you can find a Parsi supplier or a Parsi service provider, why not? And why should that not happen? I mean, every other community is doing it.
Right.
Let's build that database. Let's encourage people. Let's bring them together. Arzan, we've been doing that with Coffee with WZCC. The whole purpose of Coffee with WZCC has been to encourage Parsis in business, etc., to sharpen their tools, retool themselves. The future as it stands with machine learning, artificial intelligence, etc., jobs are going to become difficult. Okay, 30 to 40% of routine jobs are going to be replaced by machines. What are we going to do? All these routine things will get over. We need to retool ourselves. We need to look at entrepreneurship. We need to look at a business, and we need to aggressively look at it. I think the BPP there can play a critical role. BPP had that venture capital fund, but we're not able to leverage it. We have properties, but we're not able to leverage that for business. Let's start looking at other things also. And I think once the economic well-being of the community goes up, then housing and all these other matters also will automatically look after itself. At least that's what I feel. And if we can get few people to start thinking in that line, then even in a small way, if we can showcase some successes, I think community is doing well. I mean, look at our community abroad. You've been interacting overseas with people. You see that our kids are doing well wherever they are in the world. It's not that we're not doing well. It's just that we become negative and we always say the problems in the community. I think there have always been problems and there will always be problems. This generation has this problem. Next generation will have some other problem. But let's look at the positives.
Right.
One thing is certain, that today's environment is a little different from what it was early. We don't have the first mover advantage which we had like 60, 70 years ago. Today we are probably first among equals. But Parsis still in business get a lot of goodwill. Outside communities still respect Parsis. They still talk that, Parsi means there is a certain degree of honesty, faith, integrity they expect. And that is holding true yet. We are still enjoying that, reputation which our forefathers created for us. And it's our job now to take that reputation forward and leave that legacy for our kids also.
True. So coming back to something that you alluded to, housing, right? And there is some statistic that BPP is the second largest private landholder or private landlord or something like that, right? In a city like Bombay,
Yes.
which is one of the most expensive cities in the world in terms of real estate.
One thing there is certainty that because of this housing, and because housing has been, and this property has been, you have to protect the Parsi only covenant. And the Parsi only covenant can be protected only provided that if the son marries out. If a daughter marries out, then you can't protect the Parsi only covenant, because God forbid something happens to the daughter, then the non-Parsi husband and the kids who are technically today under the Dawa Beeman judgment are non-Parsis. So then they would be occupying, so that Parsi only covenant becomes at risk. These are again issues which, why are we trying to sweep everything away under the carpet? Maybe time has come when, we have to interact within the community, talk, have a dialogue, repeatedly discuss these difficult things. Maybe we will find answers in some places we don't have.
Right.
I'm not a religious expert, so I would not want to opine on this. But somewhere we have to walk the middle path, no?
Right.
And the Jews did it. We used to have the very ultra orthodox Jews and we had the very liberal Jews. Now both are finding a manner of subsisting together. That is what our community also has to find. We have to find a middle path where both ends work together and live together, yeah.
Right,
But
I
you
think
can't,
the
because
difference
of the fight within us, You can't allow outsiders to take advantage of the community.
Right. I think so. So I think that brings me to my next question, which is that the BPP obviously has to look after the interests of the whole community, right? Which includes the traditionals and includes the ones who are more liberal, right?
Yeah.
And like like in any politics, right? This obviously becomes an issue. And do you see a resolution
it's not just politics. You see, what happens is that the trustees also have to follow the diktats of the settler, the people who have given the land on which the housing colonies are built, or the people who donated the Dungarwadi and Dokhmani Shahi. People have the trust deed of the BPP actually talks about Dokhmani Shahi, and that is the main objective of the Bombay Parsi Panchayat. So let them look after it. No? And religion, according to me, should be a very clear-cut personal choice as to what you want to do. If you ask me, I will go in for the Dokhmani Shahi, but I can't force someone else. Now both sides have their different methods of disposal. The other places also now functioning. Let people live, and whoever wants can go for that, and as
Right.
far as people want will go for this. But we have to find a common balance. How long are we going to keep fighting about this? And because of this fight, development on all fronts is getting stopped.
Correct. So, because so do you think that housing is a problem that can be solved? I mean, there is obviously the issue of one hears in media and through anecdotal instances that there are lots of houses that belong to the BPP that are either kept locked, or people are not using it, or people are have multiple number of houses. How does one I mean,
See, again,
is that a problem of the Indian legal system, or is that just no political will within the BPP to solve those issues?
I think it's you hit the nail on the head where you said it's the Indian legal system. See, the Indian legal system, unfortunately, today is such a slow system that any quick resolution is impossible. And because of that, people are able to take advantage of this situation. And the BPP, it's not that the BPP is always at fault. There are a lot of people in our community who have just squatted, who have invented relations and said, "Ai to maro kako chhe, chacho chhe," and they're just staying there, which is wrong. But unfortunately, the BPP has to follow the letter of the law and has to follow the process of the law, and that process of the law in our country today is long.
Right.
But at the same time, this leave and license and how the auction, maybe that community can revisit that issue and see whether that was helping or not. Because I'm given to understand that there are a lot of elder folk who would like to surrender their house or get something for their house, and then in turn go and live in Navsari or Surat or wherever they've come from, but they won't leave unless we offer them some financial inducement. So if some kind of reverse mortgage or something could be worked out, then youngsters can come over. And I'll tell you honestly, I moved into a colony much later. But until I had my kids, I didn't appreciate the colony. But once you get kids, it's entirely different to bring up your kids in a colony infrastructure. And it is lovely. A lot of people who want to come into a colony and live, give those youngsters a chance now to come. I mean, you want to incentivize people to look after their seniors, you want them to look after their kids, and if you can provide them this kind of infrastructure, I'm sure it'll all happen. It should happen.
Right. I think they're also maintaining status quo. I think there needs to be a new vision to it, rethink the problem
Again,
and the solution.
Again, it's not that the BPP is not doing it, okay, but it's not happening at the pace at which it should happen.
Right. I think they're also maintaining status quo. I think there needs to be a new vision it, rethink the problem and the solution.
Again, it's a question about community will. We can't have people opposing all progress. At some stage, the community has to wake up and say that, hey guys, today we are talking about all these colonies have been built like many years ago. Like my colony, our buildings will nearly be 100 years old now. What are we going to do? Has anybody thought that is what I'm more worried about. What is our plan for not redevelopment, but rejuvenation of these buildings? How are we going to cope in the next 30, 40 years when the buildings become 110, 120 years old? Are we going to let them crumble? This is the blueprint which the BPP should be taking out. And why should the BPP alone do it? I'm sure there are lots of youngsters in the community who would like to have their say. Have an open dialogue, let people push some ideas in, and who knows, we may get a great idea.
Right. It's interesting you bring this topic up because, we are here today in Perth for the 11th World Zoroastrian Congress. At the last 10th World Zoroastrian Congress, this was the session that Jimmy and Baman Irani and Zarir were there.
And they were talking about Nowruz Bagh redevelopment.
Right.
And nothing, it's all gone.
And I think that's, there was a lot of merit in that plan. Obviously it had to be, sorted out. But I think as a concept it was great. I don't know why,
sometimes in our community, people get bogged down by personalities rather than getting bogged down by the issues. So separate the personalities outside all issues and look only at the issue. Don't look at the personality who's discussing that issue. And I think this is the number one problem in our community, that we are looking at the personalities who are talking about the issue rather than the issues themselves. Let the issues talk for themselves. Then I'm sure if we collectively work together as a community, we will find solutions. Today, the moment you talk about an issue, then most things, this one is talking about this, so I will oppose it. This one is talking about this. Don't look at the personalities who are broaching the issue.
Right.
Look at the issue. Look at what is going to happen 20 years from now, 30 years from now. Don't get stuck today. According to me, the BPP should be laying the roadmap for the future. Whatever the BPP does today should actually be based on what someone else had planned 5-6 years ago.
Correct.
Today we are petty administering in the current.
Right.
What is our future plan? What is our 5-year plan? What is our 10-year plan? What
I
is
think
our
you need a
15-year
strategic plan.
We need a strategic plan. How are we going to rejuvenate all this?
Yeah.
Then we will see vision. Then we will see growth. We will see youngsters willing to come. And I'm open this up. Let there be debate. So what? Worst comes to worst, what will happen? We'll get some crappy ideas. Okay, fine, we'll get some crappy ideas, discard the crappy ideas, but automatically the cream will rise, no?
Correct.
And then we can use the cream, we'll involve the community. I think number one is community involvement. If we start involving with the community and bringing more people onto a table and discussing things openly and saying, remove the personalities, just talk about the issue. I think we will all succeed. Not only the BPP, but we as a community and as a COM will succeed.
So you've been involved with the Ripon Club, and I love the place, right? Dhansak on Wednesday and the fornication chair, right? I mean, there are very few places that are left, where.
Unfortunately, the average age of all the Ripon members is the other side of fornication.
True. And you've taken over as the president.
I'm sorry. I'm the chairman of the managing committee.
Okay, so you're the chairman of the managing committee.
And I'm one of the trustees.
So how's that experience been? Because you've received some flack about it, and Ripon Club's been in the news for some legal reasons. What's going on over there?
See, unfortunately, the Ripon Club is a 137-year-old only Parsi institution today. Okay. Ripon Club survives basically on members and the food they eat. Ripon Club, though it's 137-year-old, has no great assets except it has this property where it's a tenant. Ripon Club has been a tenant in this building now for over 100 years. The landlord since 2007 was trying to work out some solution for getting better rent from the club. Since 2008, the Ripon Club, the landlord has filed an eviction suit against the Ripon Club, and the club is defending the suit in court. For the last 4 or 5 years, we have been trying to find a solution with the landlords which would be fair to both the club, its members and the landlord. To that effect, the the general body has enabled the trustees and the managing committee to create a negotiating team, and we've got very prominent senior lawyers, senior accountants, professionals on that negotiating team to sit across the trustees and find a via media. So we're trying to find that via media. uh, People's expectations are very high. People think that this is a community asset, and we are trying to alienate the community asset. There is no question of alienating the property. There is already a court case. The court case has been going on for 10 years. We don't know how many more years it will go, whether it will go, whether it won't go, and whose favor it will go, because there have been opinions on both sides of the fence. But we are, since we discussed the Indian legal system and the vagaries of the Indian legal system, majority of the not majority, 99.9% of the members present felt that let us find a structured solution rather than go to court and risk this. So that's what the club is trying to do, and unfortunately some people are not happy with that. And this is politics. So the moment when I didn't stand for election, nobody discussed or nobody was bothered about the Ripon Club. But because I'm standing for election, all of a sudden Ripon Club is like the center of the news.
Fair enough.
And I'm only one of 5 trustees and one of 9 managing committee members, and only one of 10 people who are on the negotiating table trying to find a solution with the landlord. So it's not just me, it's all of them. And we are 700 members who have voted for this solution.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what you do what you do in your at work. You've been involved with in a family business,
Yeah.
right? And how does business life, being a Parsi, how is business? Has that helped you in your business life, right?
Definitely. I think very early in my career, or when I started, I realized that I wanted to do something myself, and I didn't. Though I think if I had gone to work in maybe a Big Four consulting firm or something, I would have financially done way better than I'm doing today. But I may not have got the peace of mind. I would not have had the quality time I'm able to spend with my children, and I would not have been able to give as much as I'm giving back to my community if I had been working for an outsider. Because I work for myself, I'm able to find the time to enjoy my family life, to do what I enjoy, and most important, do community issues which otherwise I would not have been able to do. And I think Parsis, we sell ourselves short. So Parsi doesn't appreciate another Parsi, but non-Parsis definitely appreciate Parsis. They appreciate our honesty, our integrity, our in our face, our idiosyncrasies, our quirks. They appreciate it. They look forward to working with people like us, and there is a caliber of a client which is always looking for good people. It also sometimes works against you, because like in my profession, I've actually been told, "अरे पारसी CA तो कहीं करसे च नहीं, खाली टैक्स भरा उसे." So that's okay. That is the way we want to go. It's your choice what you would like. And I've been fortunate that in spite of that, we've able to create a great practice. The firm is now 54 years old. Okay. And I've been working there now for the past 24 years post qualification and 5 years before that. And we've done well for ourselves.
And what kind of clients do you have?
So we have all sorts of clients. I mean, we're a full service firm, and we now specialize in outsourced CFO services, business incubation and acceleration services, and family office, apart from the normal audit, tax, etc. work which we do. So we do a lot of GST work also now. I also do a lot of FII tax returns, foreign institutional investor returns and signing, etc. So that's my general practice.
Okay, so that brings me to a question. What does Xerxes do for fun?
Come for community events, spend time with my kids. I think I've got few. The boys are growing fast. My elder son Cyrus is now 11. My younger son Johan is now 6. And I think there's only X amount of time they're going to want us and want to spend time with us. And that time I really want to enjoy spending with them. And I enjoy doing anything with the boys, right from going for a movie or going shopping or doing anything with them is great fun. And I really hate traveling without the boys. It's just no fun.
And who has your back?
I think, being the only child, I think I could say that first my parents, my wife, and my friends. And everything I am today, I can only thank these people. Because, in my case, I think it really holds true with a little help from my friends. Because where I am today is only with a little help from my friends.
Okay, so in concluding, let's say on 1st of July, the elections happen and you win. What do you hope to achieve in the next, year or so in your first year as term?
So, I think first we need to restore some peace in the BPP. We need to build some bridges. We need to get people to talk to each other, build up the respect within the trustees. We need to build up the respect between the staff, administration, and the trustees and the community. I think that building the bridge is the most important thing. And I think once that bridge is brought, people are, it becomes an inclusive process, that you include the community. Like, currently I'm told that there is a lot of issues about this increase of service charge, or there's increase of parking. All these issues, according to me, are not non-solvable at all. It's only a question about participation. I'm sure if the BPP were to produce proper accounts and show the colonies that why this increase is needed, there is transparency in the figures which are given, there is clarity in the figures which are given, and the opposite associations and the tenants also understand it, then there will be no problem. Because that due process of explanation, clarity, transparency is not followed, these issues are happening. And that's what leads to more innuendo, rumor, etc. Lay down a system, see that the system is consistent for all colonies. Don't have carve-outs for different people and different colonies, and make it transparent. And explain to people that, okay, this is where we are, this is where we want to be, this is where we will get. I'm sure we'll convince everybody, and together we can do something. And the trustees individually, I'm sure, are all competent and they're all professional in their own way, but somehow there doesn't seem to be any kind of ability to work together. So, when you work in so many organizations, as you know, especially I, who's a service provider, know how difficult it is to keep everybody happy at all the time, But you have to, jara agal pachal karine, we should solve it, no? Why can't we solve it? Why does everything have to reach an impasse? Why does everything have to reach a situation where it is my way or the highway? That my way or the highway has to change. Okay, sometimes you have to put your foot down and say, okay, this is it. But at least go through the process, and then if someone doesn't explain, then say, okay, now this is it, and we will lay down the law. But unfortunately, without following that due process, sometimes when it just appears as a diktat, that is what is creating problems, I think, today. If we can iron that process out, make it more transparent, make it more open, discuss it with the community, share it openly with everyone, I think we can make all this work.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarzan.